How are my guys doing? Let's start from there.
Very well.
How are they doing? How's your baby girl? She has
okay.
2 boys and 1 girl. So the girl is here, the 2 boys are outside. Can you just talk to us about this journey of being a mother? You started early, so
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I started very early, pretty early, 21. It's been a long ride. Lots of highs and lows. Somebody said the difficult part of motherhood is not carrying the pregnancy. The 9 months is easy breezy. It's the job you do after carrying the pregnancy. Raising them from toddler to teenage and all the way to adulthood, like Pastor D just said. But it's been a good one. I won't trade it for anything. I won't trade it for anything. I literally gave up career because when I started, I was in school actually when I started. So by the time I was done with school, I served with the bank. I got retained to work in the bank. My husband is an entrepreneur. So at that time, early stages, a lot of travel. And it was taking a toll, on my children because I literally will have to leave them with helps. What it entails to work in a bank. So I just made up my mind, you know what? I'm going to face these kids and do it right. But that's because I was married to, I don't know if to call him a traditional man now.
yeah, I know
who believes in providing. So for him, there was we're not going to debate
Please,
this
can
thing.
you clap for my brother?
We're not going to debate this thing. Yeah, so I had to let that go and, stay at home and take care of the children. Yeah, praise God, like Pastor D said, the last one is 21 now. And I feel like my life is just starting. I can do anything I want to do with myself right now.
When you said my brother is a traditional man. By the way, my brother is from Delta State. It's a proper wafi.
Shakiri.
You will like him when you meet him. He's a very likable person. And when you said he's a typical traditional man, why do you qualify that as traditional? That to me suggests it's something that is not available everywhere.
Yeah, with what I see around now, before now, like I said, it's going to be almost 30 years I've been married to him. So this is a long time ago. And I'm sorry to say it, but the caliber of men, even amongst, when you say these things, it can't be everybody. But generally, maybe the statistics was higher for men who would rather have their wives take care of the home front, and they would be the sole providers or sole breadwinners. We had more of those type of men during that time. So I say that, and compared to now, I don't blame people really, because I think society has brought us to where we are. We're beginning to shift grounds because of changes in culture, economical changes and all of that, so I get that. But back then, it's not like back then it was easy either, but it was just a choice that was made and we just went with it.
I used to pride myself as old school because of life as I knew it, life as I embraced it, and life as I imbibed. Old school in the sense that I grew up in a typically patriarchal setting where men were very present. And their presence is not just only in being around. Their presence is in taking charge of their responsibility. And the responsibility as defined then, when we were growing up, was basically to take care of your homes. And I realized that our mothers were working then. It's not as if they were idle. They were working. Like I was sharing with people that we did training together yesterday. I have 3 mothers, by the way. And the 3 of them they were not slacking. But all of us knew growing up where the shot is coming from. And that was life as we knew it. And that became what we embraced, what we believed, what we pursued. And like you said, when you and my brother started more than 30 years ago, we have larger population of men who, but it's like over the years, some things began to happen.
Yeah.
And there's a subtle gradual transition.
Yeah.
Can you explain, do you think there is anything, because the statistics I just pointed out were not just even built in Nigeria. So it's surprising that it's not even a local crisis. It looks as if it's a global trend. Can we navigate and trace back? How do we, what are the things that we can say brought us to where we are? Because where we are now, maybe I should say that before, where we are now is that it doesn't matter whether you are married or not, male or female, everybody has come to accept that it's okay if the woman shares the responsibility. And we even have men now who will tell you when they are thinking of who to marry, number one on that list is the consideration for where she works, what she earns, and the kind of money she has in her account. And it's becoming, so can we, is it possible for us to track and see how did we, what happened along the line that this is now becoming the trend?
That's a hard one. But I would say two things come to mind for me. One, I would say the family unit. Like you said, mothers worked. My mother worked. I didn't do a 9 to 5, but in between these years, I've done business here and there. So I understand what that means. My mother was a school teacher, and so she had time for us. I grew up in a place where, I don't know people who know Benue State very well. I grew up in Benue State. I grew up in Makurdi, North Bank. North Bank in Benue State was known as one of the notorious places. Kids that came out of North Bank a lot of times were regarded as, but it can't be my mother's child. She had 4 of us. We grew up in that, but I had people around me who were, but you don't try it. I used to tell the kids in case you see pieces here, I'll say to them, the fear of my mom growing up was the beginning of wisdom for me. So she did everything to put us in check and in line, both male and female. It didn't matter whether you were male or female. Her sons, you can't be out at 6 o'clock. That was a rule. It was a standing rule in my house up until I got married. So I think the upbringing during those times helped as well, because I feel like parents were more hands-on in a lot of ways. All the societal pressures of wanting to look a certain way or be a certain way were not there. Everybody was more interested in what, they put in their child. It wasn't so much about the money for them. Maybe life was easier then. I don't know. I really don't know, Pastor D. Then I bring it back, to the church as well, because we're in this context. I bring it back to the church. I think we got to a place where we allowed society to creep in, and we let go of the true meaning of what marriage should be, the roles of, the husband and the wife should be. I think we've let go of that a bit, and we've let society dictate to us what is very subtle, but is right there in church.
When you talk of roles these days, you are likely going to be labeled as uninformed or out of touch, because now the argument is roles are fluid. We're even having sit-at-home dads now who stay back at home, and the moms go out to chest the something. So if we, and I love where you picked it from, that this thing started from the house. There are things, my dad has passed now, how many years? 10 years, it was 10 years this year. And he had me when he was almost 50. So it was already, by the time I was 10, 12, and there I was. And there were things he said to me then, that when I sit down to think about them, I'm asking myself, why was he saying those things then? Because some of them were clearly, I couldn't even connect with those things. For instance, we were working on the farm one day, the boys, and he was telling us that make sure that when you marry, and we're wondering, we're still in secondary school, why is this man talking? Maybe he was suspecting that we're having girlfriends. So we say, make sure that your wife works. Don't encourage your wife to be idle and not to work. And we said, why? He said the reason is because, and I was shocked that he had that mind today. He said the reason is because your children are going to naturally spend more time with your wife, who is their mother. And a lot of what they know will come from her. Yeah. So if she's not somebody who is bright, who is enterprising, who understands what's going on, who has connection and relationship by going out, said that's the same thing she's going to pour to your children. So that it doesn't matter how smart you are, you might end up having kids who are not, And I couldn't relate with that until I grew up. So I'm saying that to say that this family thing you brought in came in somewhere along the line where the focus of raising kids was no longer about trying to pour into the coming generation the values that the previous generations held on to. Because like I said, I discovered that it's not about education. We'll come back to that. But that value transfer, that idea of this is what we stand for here. This is who we are. Somehow did not get into the next generation. What got into the next generation is the drive to go to school, get education, and all that. But some of our children now, even are ashamed of our heritage. They don't even want to, from when they were like this, I keep married to my children. Doesn't matter where you go, you're an Ekiti boy. You're an Ekiti boy. And that's the way Ekiti people, that's the way they behave, stuff like that. So that transfer of value somehow did not make it across to the next generation. And that became part of the problem, which is what you identified. So as a mother, I want to take you on that before I go to the shift in the focus from men to women, which is the fruit of what we are reaping now. But as a mother, and I know you are a very sophisticated woman. And please clap for her. I know that. And I know that my brother too is, he was telling me, he was sharing it. No, it wasn't even him. It was his elder brother that was talking during his birthday in your house. And they were saying that they will go to UK in the morning to go and buy suits and come back in the evening from Lagos as a teenager. They will send, I think his brother was saying that I sent him to go and change. They bought a suit from a shop in London, and the thing was, they sent him from Nigeria, flew to London. He said, when he got to the airport, I said, where are you going? When are you going back? I said, I'm going back today. They look at him. You are going back today? He said, yes, I'm going back with the last flight to Nigeria today. So I know you are from that kind of setting. How has it been, this value transfer? That Jem is not just a fine boy, he also gets some of these things that mom did to you. Were you able to do those things to them? How was it in that context of value transfer?
Like you said, Pastor D, for me, I knew no other thing. I'm happy you brought out the angle of values. And I think my being in Christ helped very, very much as well. Apart from the values that my parents had instilled, I got to know God along the way. So that went a long way. So it wasn't going to be anything less for my children. There are things I grew up, even in getting values from my parents, that they did, because parenting at every stage, I believe we do the best with what we have and with what we know. So the things I felt didn't serve me, I let them go. And those ones that I felt served me, especially as a child of God, I held on to them and I built on them because I wanted more for my children. So definitely, whatever values my parents had instilled with me, because at that time, they were doing it. They didn't even have the knowledge I have. So based on what I had learned and what I had in Christ, I was able to build on what they taught me and try to impact my children. And when you talked about Jem, I smiled because he's my last. And when he was going to school, for each of my children, when they were going to leave home, and people like, oh, aren't you worried? You're sending them abroad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I've done the best I can do with them, with the ability that God has given me. I can only trust God that they'll go out there and, practice that which I've taught them. So Jem, especially when he was going to school, because he was my youngest and everybody used to call him mommy's handbag, he was really clinging. And I remember saying to him after he left, I kept saying, I said, find a church community. Find a church community. And he did. I tell people that's the best thing God did for me. Because I can say that between my 3 children, that is the person who has really integrated in that system. And that's because he found the church community that he belongs to. And that has really given me peace and kept me at ease. His birthday was 2-3 days ago. And I called him because I called midnight, 6th, going into the 7th. And his dad was like, he's still not 7th in America. I said, forget. I gave birth to him in Nigeria. He's 7th in Nigeria, so I'm calling him. And he picked, so we spoke. And when he picked, I said, where are you? He said, oh, there's a rooftop. He just went to pray, and he's coming back downstairs. And I'm like, and I know my child. He wasn't saying that to make me happy. That's who he is. I can say that's who he is. So, like I said, for me, it has been God. Apart from the values that my parents passed to me, it has been God all the way. Because like I told you, I got married pretty early. I was still navigating, even knowing myself. I hadn't fully even, gotten to the place where I knew who Sandra was when I got into marriage. So it was hands-on learning for me. I had to navigate my way. So it has been God.
When there are resistance, subtle resistance, on the part of the children in getting those things across. Resistance, what I mean by that is, one of the pressures we face today as parents is we're not the only ones speaking to our children.
Yeah.
There are friends talking to them, social media talking to them, societies are talking to them, and then we are talking to them. And so we have this situation where it's as if whatever you say, they have other ideas and opinions to check that with before. Were there those kind of things,
yes.
and how were you able to?
Oh yes.
To push.
Oh yes. Yeah. We're still praying. We're still pushing. But I will answer you yes. There was. There's always that one child who wants to know the whys and always that one child, and I have one of those in my house as well. So definitely yes. But that didn't. I didn't care whatever society or internet was saying to you, whether it was woke or not woke. I don't care what you think about me. I will tell you as it is, and I'll continue to pray and insist that this is the way we know, these are the values I know, and it can't be any different. So yes, resistance came, but
thank you very much, Ms. Kaiser. I want us to shift this conversation to one of my friends saw this flyer, and she took me on. Took me on from the position of, in her mind, this is Mother's Day, so women winning bread. It's like, are you not beating the victims, as it were? Women don't want to win bread. But many of them found themselves where they have to do something. So if we're looking at this challenge, these statistics, these frightening statistics that I've read, this is not apportioning blame, but where do you think the bulk of the problem is? Is it with women? Because I was saying yesterday that women are enablers. On many occasions, they have a way of enabling bad behavior in us,
I agree.
and then they turn around to complain about things that they inadvertently enabled. If we look at this issue of women now having to push and win bread and hustle like men, where do you think we should put this thing? Is it the women who are taking over, who wants to take over? Is it the men who kind of stepping up? Where do you think the bulk of this thing is?
I won't say it's the women who want to take over, because like you rightly said, a woman by nature, innate, likes to be taken care of. I believe a woman wants a man she can look up to. A protector, a provider. Even when she has her own resources, she wants a provider. You know, I like that the word of God is always relevant. So even in the situation we find ourselves in, I find the word of God very relevant. In the beginning, when God created the woman, first of all, he wanted a help for the man. He wanted a companion for the man. It's not good for man to be alone. And then a helper. A woman would naturally want to help a man who she is in love with or married to if the need arises. She doesn't have a problem with that. But women naturally, I believe, and I mean, if there's any woman in the house who thinks I'm wrong, you can say that. I believe that women naturally will want to be taken care of. Something happened between my husband and I some days ago. I tell people I don't know how to buy airtime. I've never done it. When people say, can you help me use your phone? I say, I've never done it. Because every month I receive, and my account is credited, and I say thank you. And so he was having issues doing it from his bank, and he was like, can you do it? I said, okay, I'm not doing it. I said, as much as there's money in my account, I'm used to. I like that feeling when you send the airtime to me. So I'm going to wait. When you sort out your account, send it to me. It's not like I don't have the money to buy the airtime. But I'm saying that is me. I mean, some other people might be different. I like to be taken care of. And I believe that a whole lot of women like to be taken care of. But first, that is not to say, like I said, I've done business a couple of times. I've had to, like, fend for the family sometimes when business wasn't going well for my husband. And so whatever little was coming in from whatever I was doing, we were using it to make ends meet. In fact, my service year, I remember my allowance, like I said, I worked in the bank, so I was one of the highest paid corps members in Plateau State then. So NYSC allowance, the bank allowance was literally taking care of my family at some point. I was happy to do it. I was happy to help. That was me stepping into the role of a helper. But it wasn't demanded of me or wasn't imposed on me. My husband was out there doing his thing, trying to make ends meet, but things were not just happening at that time, and so I was happy to do it. And that is why I said naturally, any woman, I believe that any woman will want to be taken care of if she has a man who will take care of her. That doesn't stop the fact that, I mean, we have dreams, we have aspirations. Some people just love doing what they love to do. And it might just be something that they're doing and it's bringing in an income.
So I love that aspect of willingness to do.
Yeah.
Of course, we've all benefited from that.
Yeah.
You know, every man here who has been married, we know that even though when we are boxed up, we look at what she's earning and say, how much are they even pay you?
Exactly.
But when robbers hit the road, suddenly that tiny thing became very, very important.
Yeah.
And nearly all of us have experienced that.
Yeah.
But I love the dimension of imposition.
Yeah.
Now, this imposition sometimes doesn't come by directly imposing. The imposition happens by gradual withdrawal of the man. And the natural tendency of every woman is to nurture, is to care.
Yeah.
So when the man is stepping aside without being asked, the woman
Steps in.
just
Yeah.
stepped in.
Yeah.
and then step in, and then step in, and then just wake up one day, and she's everywhere. And the guy has stepped out.
Pastor, that's just an irresponsible man.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Now, where I'm going with that is this. Some of these things happened, and I mentioned about women being enablers. And this is where I'm going. I've counseled 2 people who wanted to get married. It's not as if the guy didn't have anything, but he didn't have much. But the lady, on the other hand, has plenty. And she was very happy to sponsor the wedding. I've seen where the lady offered to buy the suit for the guy because she believes what the guy will buy and not be put on social media. They can't do content with it. I've seen where the guy has a 2-bedroom apartment in a place, has the TV, even if it's hunchback TV. And the lady came and said, no, we cannot stay here. Don't worry. Went and rented 3-bedroom apartment, furnished it, and insisted that they move. And then some years down the line, she was complaining that the guy was not doing some things. So there are instances where women enabled this thing by I have, and I want to do, and I want to do. And then the man on the other side gets used to you doing that. He just sit out. As bad as that may be on the side of the men, and I'm not talking Nollywood, I'm talking real life people that I spoke with, flesh and blood. In fact, one borrowed the guy the bride price. She borrowed him the bride price. And I told her, you married yourself. So when the guy now started getting angry, when at the end of the month she doesn't send allowance, why are you surprised?
Of course.
You married yourself and you married this man. So these are things that I see and I try to speak to. And sometimes it's as if, Pastor, you don't know what is going on out there. Those are your days. Somebody told me, men don't come as good as they came in your days. You know, it's as if new versions, the improved versions now are not, they are not. And I've always begged to differ. That sometimes women enable this thing. I want you to speak to this enablement on this part of women.
I agree.
If a guy says it's coming, you won't even wait. You will just go and do it. So tomorrow you won't even bother to tomorrow do.
Of course.
So this enablement from the part of the women, don't you think it's a major factor to some of these things?
It actually does happen. And there's something I say to people. If there's anything you experience with a guy when you're dating, and you think that by the time you marry him, it will go away, or he will do better, or my dear sister, better gear up for times 100 of that attitude. So yeah, I agree. Women, we enable sometimes. I mean, for me, in those type of situations, I would rather marry within your limits. Marry within your limits. If what the guy can afford is this, stay with that. If what he can afford is a 2-bedroom, stay in that. I've stayed in a 1-bedroom before. Stay in the 1 bed and grow from there. Even when you can do it, I think do it with we can strike a balance somewhere. Because the truth of the matter, Pastor, these things they are kind of, how do I explain it now? But I keep going back to the Bible. Because for me, I don't know, I'm sorry, it's not me trying to sound Christianist, but that's all I know. And so I go back to the book of Ephesians, where it talks about the man. We like reading that scripture a lot at weddings. Husband, love your wives. Women, submit. There's a whole lot of it to it. Apparently, it talks about caring. In fact, I had to go and check the meaning of caring. It literally means providing, taking care of whatever the person needs. That's the role of a man. And so for women like that, I can say, if you start it, then be ready to finish it. Don't just complain. When the time comes and the guy is not doing it, don't complain. Don't complain because you started it. He got comfortable. Like I always say to people, even if he's younger, the person is providing everything. Why do people work? Let's start from there. The whole idea is to make money and live a comfortable life for most people, except for people who are doing stuff that is a passion for them and they really just enjoy doing it. So even without the money, they'll do it. Most people work because they need to make ends meet. They need to live, pay bills. So if you're paying the bills and the guy is comfortable where he is, what's motivating him? So if you start it and the guy refuses to, you just need to, sorry, but I don't think you can come to anybody complaining about that. When I see women who are in marriages and maybe the guy had, things got bad, and she's now the one who is earning, I tell them, please, by all means, do it. That's a different ball game. He was providing, things got bad. Now it is your place to step in and help him. Do it, and do it happily.
I want to go to this get child education, but I'll come back to that later. Having been in this business for almost 30 years now that you said, and I know you have passion for the younger ones. There was a time you were basically our, what do they call it? A chaplain in KCC, and those children will never forget you. Again, thank you for those awesome work.
It's my pleasure.
So you have been in this thing for 30 years, and I know you don't look it. That's my brother. He's a good guy. So he's doing a very wonderful job. Are there telltales? Speaking to those who are not yet in the business, are there telltales that can tell a lady that this guy will step aside if we get into this business? Are there signals and signs that can tell you this guy will make me chest things in this marriage? How do you navigate that? How do you identify that? What do you do when you see those things?
I believe they always are. Because even during the period of courtship or dating, whatever, he's going to be making demands. There's a very sly way of doing it. In fact, I hear the Abuja stories of how you meet a guy, maybe the first few days, he's the one who will call you, oh, have you had lunch? He's bringing food to your office. 1 month down the line, he's like, my car, something happened, I need to buy some spare parts. There's some money I'm expecting, it hasn't come. You do the first one, you do the second one, it's one story. There are always signs. Let me tell you a funny story. I got married pretty early. I was in Abuja area. But before that time, I knew a few guys in school, like I had friends. I had this friend. ABU had 2 campuses, Congo and Samaru. And he'll come from Congo to see me. The first time, time to go back to Congo. Can I have then, how much was it? Maybe 15 naira, less than that to go back to Congo. I did it the first time. The second time, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this. Pastor D, I was maybe 18, 19, but I had more sense than that. Why are you asking me for transport fare to go back to where you're coming from? You came to see me, I'm the one paying transport fare for you to go back. No, I don't work like that, and that was it for me. So there are always signs, and the person I'm talking about, up until tomorrow, he's still living that life. So I wasn't wrong about him. He's still living that life. In fact, he's not married. Yeah. So there are always signs. Sometimes it's genuine cases, and trust me, I want to narrow this down to children of God, Pastor D. That's the only way it will make sense. Because as a child of God, you will see these things, and you should be able to sense them. And that's why I was telling Okwe, I said, you guys don't even know what you have, this generation. Some of us did it blindly. There was really no direction from anywhere. I didn't give my life to Christ before I got married. So we literally did it blindly. You belong to a house like this, you're hearing every day. Then you tell me that some guy deceived you into, no now. No, you need to have more sense than that. The signs are always there. They are definitely always there. He's always more interested in what is coming in, your income. So how far now, babes, they don't pay you. What's your business if they've paid me or not? If they pay me and I want to tell you, I'll tell you I've been paid, my salary has come in. You don't need to ask me. Those are all signs. There's always a project when you have some money. That's when he knows he has something to do. You go for lunch or whatever, you need to pick the bill. Come on now. It can happen once, twice, but when it becomes a pattern. It shouldn't happen. No, let people excuse them, Pastor D. Some days are bad days. The guy is broke. Maybe he hasn't been paid.
Why will I ask a lady to
go on the date, right?
When I don't have
when
money?
You don't, exactly. Truly. So there are always signs. There are always signs. That's the truth.
Thank you very much.
There are always signs.
Now, I want us to look at the area of the shift in focus in raising children. When we were in school, primary school and all that, the fight was about getting the girl child into school. I still remember very clearly, a lady was slightly older than us, came to our house to come and beg my dad to come and help her beg our own dad, excuse me, to continue funding our education. Of course, everybody in my place then knew that if it's about education, my father is a major proponent. Male or female, it doesn't make any difference to him. So this other man was a friend to my dad, and he was a polygamist. Fortunately or unfortunately for this lady that came, her mom has only girls. And the man said once a girl child is done with, was it primary or secondary or something, it's not doing again. So she came to my dad to come and help her to go and talk to her own dad to continue. And so I said that to say, in those days, the girl child was not, then there was this move, this advocacy about girl child. Yeah. Today, you have more days being celebrated about women, International Day, Girl Child Day, Girl Education Day, Girl this, Girl that. And then somewhere along the line, the landscape changed. And you have more women coming into education, more women coming into businesses, more women coming into politics. And it's as if that balance begin to tilt in the direction of women being more resourceful. And unfortunately for us, as I say that, for us as men, women are naturally more dedicated.
True.
So if they are given opportunity, they tend to do better.
Yeah.
Civil engineering 2000 said the best graduating student, civil engineering department, was a lady. I said that to my own cover face.
Yeah.
Was a lady. And we have only 4 ladies in our midst. We have about 30 something. And the best graduates. So you just see them doing so well in all those things, and the landscape changed. Yeah. And women took over. And then that generation now started getting married. You now have a tilt in power where the women has more resources than the men. And of course, the role became blurry. Now we're coming home as believers. Even if the woman has more, even if the woman is doing more, where do we strike this balance of not shifting this role and putting her as the breadwinner? Now, when I talk about this is the way I always say it. And I'm happy you agree with me to a large extent that every woman wants to be taken care of. I put it this way, that no woman wants to have to work. She wants to work, but she doesn't want to have to work. What that means is that she cannot but work because of. I went to buy something from a woman. She comes out to set up her store for those who are doing morning exercise on our street, and I went to her shop. And she came with her son, and this happened last week, which even further strengthened. So that's where God speaks to me when I'm thinking of something, He just keeps showing me everywhere. So this boy was very cranky that day. Very cranky, she was doing everything to make. And so she started talking out of that. Said, will you please allow me to walk? Do you know what it means for me to put food on the table? Do you know what it means to put food on the table for you and your brothers? Please, And when she said that, I looked at her. This is a very small boy. The boy is maybe less than a year. And I'm like, this boy has a father. And this woman, she didn't know me. She wasn't complaining, but she was just talking. And what she was saying is, do you know what I have to do to put food on the table? That kind of broke my heart, because a woman should not be made to do that. If she wants to sell, it should be because she loves to do it and she wants to do it.
Thank you.
She should be able to stay back the day she doesn't feel like coming out. And say today, honestly, but she can't. She has to come out, irrespective of how
she feels.
Because she has to put food on the table. So now, coming back home as believers, how do we strike this balance where the helpmate does not become the main hustler, where they are allowed to help, even if she has more, even if she's more, because of virtue of her education and experience and all that. How do we strike that balance? One. Number two, I also want you to speak, because if it's coming from me, it sounds as if I'm trying to batch the guys. I also want you to speak to the area of men really, really coming to terms with this understanding that as far as the scripture is concerned, you can't transfer these rules. They are not transferable. So I want us to speak to those issues. How do we strike this thing? Now we have empowered women. They are doing well. They have their own money. How do we balance that?
I'm glad we're talking about it from the position of Christians, because like you said, it's scriptural. And I keep going back to Ephesians 5. And for any guy who is in the house and thinks that it's okay for a woman to win bread or work even, or you are just laid back and she has to do everything, it just, for me, it simply means you don't believe any word of scripture. Because you can't take out some, hold on to some, believe some, claim some, and leave out some. It's wholesome. It's a complete package. And so every bit of it applies to you and I. And so if scripture says, it's right there, I wish we could read Ephesians 5, it's right there where the Bible talks about the man being the head, the man caring, protecting, providing for his wife. And when we talk about the head and all of that, we go back to arguments of, men and women are equal. That's us just trying to play with the word. A wise man once told me that anything without a head is dead, and anything with two heads is a monster. So you don't find in every organization, family, whatever, there will always be a head. And for the family unit, God has ordained it to be a man. And you know what it means to be the head. So you don't have a choice, literally. That's why I said if you feel like you can't do that part, then just forget every other part of the scriptures as well. Because you can't choose the one you want. You can't hold on to some and let some go. So it's just what it is. And so for us as believers, we believe everything that scripture says, and that's what we work towards. That's what we desire, we strive to be. Even when you're not yet there, you're striving to get there. So you can't be comfortable in the place of, my wife is providing, she has a good income, and so I'm comfortable. You can't be. That's not who God has called you to be. So you strive every day to get to a better place. And even if at the end of the day, you're never able to match the income your wife has, the fact that you're still stepping up with whatever you have and you're doing what you need to do is what counts. That's what matters. Because for some men, truly, they might never earn what their spouse is earning. But the most important thing is that even without your little, You're seen trying to pay your children's school fees, you're seen trying to put food on the table, and now your wife can come in and help. But don't leave it solely to her. Don't. I like what you said about a lot of women that work, even the virtuous woman we talk about in Proverbs 31. Go read that scripture. She was doing the things she liked doing. She liked to sew. If you read the first part, it talks about that, and that's why she was sewing garments and she was selling them. Her husband was the man who was sitting with the elders at the gate. He wasn't a poor man. In those days, that was a man of authority. Yeah. That was a man who was taking decisions that concerned his people. He wasn't a poor man. So she was doing what she loved doing. As much as she was helping, it wasn't because she needed to. The man was doing his thing. She was doing what she loved doing, and it became an enterprise for her. So that's the difference. It's a difference. If a woman is doing a job she doesn't like, and is doing it because she needs to put food on the table, and she has a husband, that's she winning bread. Like I said, there are times and seasons. A family goes through stuff, if the wife needs to, I get that. It happens. But as a man and as a child of God, you can't get comfortable in that place. That's wrong. You can't.
Wow. Please, can you clap for Mrs. Kaiser? I'm a pastor, and I say that with a very high sense of responsibility, and not just the pastor of this local house. I think all my life I've been positioned by grace where I've always been privileged to see things, know things that are even beyond, I don't know how to say, beyond my level, whatever. The first time I was invited to settle a marital problem, I was a student. And that's the shocking part of it is, it was a friend of mine in university who invited me to their house to come and talk to his parents. Wow. They were having issues. Wow. And when I got there, I was like, let's pray. Let's just pray. So I started praying. I know how you use prayer to communicate. Because these people their first child is my friend. And I'm now coming as, I wasn't even in relationship then, so to say. So I said that to say, by that grace of God, I've seen so much about this thing. And I speak from that position of what I've seen. And I'm happy that as a woman, you stress that we can excuse some things as phases of life, but we must never settle in those things. And we must never accept them. I think my biggest problem with this thing we're discussing is now that people are coming to accept it as normal, we're kind of normalizing that which is contrary to the scripture. Guys are thinking that ladies are making allowances for that. And that is where my issue comes from. And as we begin to wind down this conversation, I want to narrow down to mothers now. Because the duty of a mother is endless. It doesn't end just because they are out of your house. It continues. And I imagine that now having to combine it with the rigor of also hustling with men out there to get something for the house. So as we celebrate Mother's Day today, I want us to speak to the issue of rest. And mothers learning, well, let me say mothers now, women learning to take care of themselves. It's natural to you people to think of yourself last. And I think God made it so because of that great gift that has given you to be a nurturer. So the natural tendency is, has everybody eaten? The children's school fees hasn't been paid. I need to change their uniform. I need to change their shoe. I need to change their school bag. And a whole year round, you may not remember to change anything that is of yours.
True.
So I want us to speak to the place of women learning and not feeling guilty. Not feeling guilty about taking care of themselves. That life is not all about paying school fees. I want you to speak to that as a mother and as a woman.
Am I the best person for this?
Because you are guilty too.
I feel like for women, maybe sometimes by the time we realize that taking care of ourselves is very important, it's a little bit late in the day. Not late in the day like it can't be done, but I think for a lot of women, as we get older and the years are going, you get into those perimenopause and menopause stages, you begin to feel certain things. That's when it dawns on us that we need rest. Because truly, I say to, and not just for women, even for the men too, because a lot of times men have a whole lot of load on them as well, mental and all of that. I say to my husband, I tell him, I say, you're better to me, well, and so forget, or the sky won't fall. If we don't do this today, the sky won't fall. Life still continues. And that's my attitude to life. I tell people, I say, God has given me a peace that I really don't understand. I'm sorry, like I said, I can't talk and not talk God. Because that's what fuels me. That's what fuels me. Outside of God, maybe, I don't know what I would have done. But I've found my peace and my anchor. That's my center of gravity. And so even when things are going haywire. But the truth of the matter, let me digress a little. I think where I learned a lesson and where I started taking care of myself was we had a problem with one of our kids, and it was really taking a toll on me. It was so bad that it began to affect my body. And so I went to the hospital, I ran checkups, my blood work, everything was good. It was nothing, absolutely nothing. I did everything, pap smear, the whole 9 yards, everything was good. And the doctor looked at me. Normally when I go to I like to see a female gynecologist because I feel like they understand my body better. She looked at me and she goes, "Madam, you need to talk to somebody." And I knew exactly what she meant. You know, I'm bringing that up because I know that this whole motherhood thing is not a walk in the park. It's not. There can be really hard days, and I've experienced them. And so for me, that was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call in the sense that, like I said, the stress was beginning to take a toll on my body. And I knew I couldn't afford to be sick. And it was a wake-up call in the sense that I knew I had done everything I knew to do to the best of my ability as God had helped me. And so all else that needed to do was for me to depend on God. And that has been what has set me free. And so I say to the mothers in the house, women, but mothers especially, you can only do your bit. And as long as you're doing it from a sincere place, you're doing it with everything you have, in the sense that if it's time with the children, if it's providing what they need, you're doing it. Even when things seemingly are not going as you want them to go, don't beat yourself down. Because really, you can't do anything about it. You can only trust God. Whether it is for the life of that child, or if it is for resources for the family. You can only trust God. There's not too much you can do outside of God. So I've learned to take care of myself. And for me, I think even with my husband, I've earned the right. There are days I don't feel like cooking. I've done it for 30 years. I mean, faith is here. You know me, I cook. In fact, people tell me I spoiled him. But like everybody, how to each their own. That's me. I enjoy doing it, and so I do it. But now, if I say to him, I'm tired, I can't cook, he understands. The day I can be cooking and my body is telling me, I will turn off that burner. I'll go and lie down. Everybody, if it's Gary you want to drink, feel free. But that is because I have earned that. If you started off not doing it, for them to get you to cook for your children is a problem. all you cook every day is Indomie, and you now begin to, no, now that one will just cause problem in the house. But if you've always done it, and 1 day, 2 days, you say, you know what, I need a break, I think everybody will understand. And like I said, the sky won't fall. It won't fall. So,
please put your hands together very well for Mrs. Sandra Kaiser. I want to sincerely appreciate you for coming. Thank you for all you have been and all you have done. I want us to close on this note before I let Mrs. Kaiser go.
Sorry, Pastor D, can I say something?
Please go ahead.
I can't go without saying this to the young people in the house, both male and female. I don't say it lightly when I say you don't know what you have. I was saying to Eccl this morning, I say, if I knew what I know now when I was your age, he probably would never have met me. Because I won't be here, truly. I won't. I know what I would have done with myself. And so that you have that privilege to sit in this house and hear the things you hear, and you have this couple as leaders over your life and are speaking things into your life, you don't have any reason. There's no excuse not to marry wrong or not to do well in your chosen areas of career. I say something to women especially. That time that you're waiting for a man to come around, build yourself. Build capacity. Because the man will come eventually. But because you have laid a foundation, whether career, whatever, even when you go and you do family, you have kids, you raise them, you can take time off, do all of that, and come back to your career. It's easier. But when you leave all of that and all you dwell on every day is you're waiting for a husband to come, it won't take you anywhere. And when I say build capacity, it's not in what you wear, it's in the trainings, the skills, and all of that you acquire. So like I said, if you're a young person and you're in this house, you don't have a reason to marry wrong. Or that what do you bring to the table? It's not for the people in this house. Because as a guy, you meet a girl, you're a member of this house, and you're asking her, what does she bring to the table? Are you for real? You shouldn't be asking her that question, because the reason you're attracted to her at all shouldn't be what she's bringing. As a child of God, there are certain things you have seen. And for the women, when they say don't be unequally yoked, it's not whether you marry Muslim or you marry, it can be a Christian like you. But what does he believe? What are his values? What drives him? So please, I beg you, don't throw away this opportunity that God has given you. Don't throw it away. When you have these conversations before you get into marriage, is a lot easier. It's a lot easier. And it's not just about having the conversations, it's about having people who can hold you accountable, both male and female. And when you have people like this that can hold you accountable, it's for your own good. Marriage is no joke. It's not, this is supposed to be Mother's Day. I don't know how I turned it into marriage seminar, but it's no joke. It's no joke. It needs the two parties to work at it. So those are discussions you have even before you get into marriage. So with everything you're hearing, like I said, no excuses for you. You shouldn't make mistakes in choosing a life partner. And that in turn makes motherhood easier. And the whole case of whether a woman is winning bread or not winning bread is no longer what we're discussing on a Mother's Day like this. Thank you.
Come on, put your hands together. So on behalf of Abuja City Church, just let me start with that before we go. Where is Mrs. Naso? Thank you very much for coming, Mrs. Kaiser. I'm very happy to have you here. It's good to be. Ordinarily, this is home. We agree on that long time ago. So welcome back home. As we close, we're going to be going to the next phase, which is going to be the presentation of gifts to mothers. But I want us to give Mrs. Kaiser. Okay, sorry, please, they said we should sit down. Thank you very much. I don't know if there is one or two, yeah, I think that's the way it should be. This conversation, this dialogue, one or two clarification, one or two contribution or comments before I allow my friend to leave the stage. Please, do we have the mic? Anybody wants to say something? Anybody wants to ask something? Anybody wants to clear up something? Thank you very much. Please, can we get the mic very quickly?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. My question is, in a situation where you find yourself stepping into the space of, holding brief for your husband, just like you said, perhaps he was doing it before and situations happened, and then you are having to step in. Now, not from a place of pride, but of course you would naturally require respect or demand respect. Something that was probably not an issue before this point where you are now assisting with breadwinning. Your demand for respect is now interpreted as, is it because, start stepping in, right? How do you, still assert your place without seeming like, it is because you are in a position to provide now or help out? Because I feel like there's a high chance of people just making conclusions or tagging women as saucy and disrespectful when they are in a position of power or financial strength. They have the financial strength. So how do you do that without appearing as disrespectful to your husband or, getting those tags, and also still maintaining your feminine energy, like still being a woman, but the man for a brief period?
You're not being a man for the brief period, you're just helping him out. You started by saying demand respect. I need you to clarify. What do you mean? Why are you demanding respect? Was he not respecting you before that time?
Okay, so, well, as a lady, I feel like that, of course, we have boundaries. We have boundaries that we feel like, our man or our husband, knows that he shouldn't cross, or, limits to some things. There are some things he just shouldn't say to you or do. And like I said, before this point of you assisting him or supporting him, you didn't have issues with that.
Okay.
Yes, he respected you, and you people had your boundaries and limits.
Okay.
But some sentiments step in when you are now taking this position, and perhaps he's misinterpreting some of the things you do and tagging it. Is it because you are now in a position ahead? That's what I mean, ma.
I get you. I like the fact that you used misinterpret. Misinterpretation arises when we don't communicate properly. I'm sounding like a breaking record now. I've been married for 30 years. I'm still learning how to communicate with my husband. I married a man who likes, I tell people that he likes, his love language is words of affirmation. And I happen to be that person. I don't know how to pretend to save my life. If I pass you a compliment, it means I really mean it, or else I won't. So a lot of times when I go to him about an issue or we're interfacing, I just say it as, and a lot of times he won't take it well, and it will degenerate. And so over the years, I've learned that, this is the way to deal with this man. So now when I go to him to talk about anything, I first of all go around the circle, give him the background of why I need to do what I'm doing. And he's sitting down there looking at me. And when I'm done, he goes, okay. And after everything, he'll be like, so why did you feel the need to tell me all of that before? But I've realized that that's what works for him. So you need to, it's not a blanket answer for every woman. You need to know your husband. You need to know how best to communicate, because you've now taken charge financially for that time, doesn't mean that you just go ahead and you make a decision and, oh, because I'm the one, I decide. No, you can't do that. You still have to have a conversation. Both of you still need to agree. You can't just go out and because you're the one who owns the finances, you decide you want to buy a new car and he's sitting at home then and the new car appears. To you, you've done a good thing. You're trying to provide easy transportation, right? But no man will take that well. That's the truth, except if he's an irresponsible man. Any man who you do that to, I'm sorry, I might be wrong. Any man who you do that to, I'm not saying it's his birthday and you decide to buy him a car. On a normal day, you just say, oh, maybe this car in this house, we need to change it. You don't discuss with him because it's your money. You go out and you buy a new car. No man will take it well. You need to have a talk. So communication is very key when situations like that arise. How you communicate the things you need to do, the body language as well. The body language as well. Because sometimes as women, and we are women and we know these things, already because you feel like he should be the one doing it, you're doing it, but inside of you, you're throwing tantrums. And it's obviously showing you your behavior in a subtle way you don't even know. You know, of course, some men are just a headache on their own. The fact that, but I mean, like, let's bring it back to the house of God. This is the house of God. So for me, I'm talking about a godly couple now. A man who knows and fears God, a woman who knows and fears God. The Bible talks about the virtuous woman and her husband. The man knows that whatever she does is for his own good. His heart is trusted in that. So he doesn't have any business doubting or trying to interpret, is this what she meant? At every point in time, he's calm. That whatever my wife is doing, she has me. So once you're able to build that, and your husband knows that you're coming from a good place, and you're both children of God, I don't think that will happen. Or even when it does, like I said, communicate properly. It will be sorted. That's why you can't afford to marry somebody you're unequally yoked with. And it's not about whether he's Muslim or he's Sele.
Thank you very much. Let me add this from a perspective of a man. And I'm happy that's very on point. No sensible, responsible man we just say, hey, thank you. If he says that, then he's out of order. Now, this is it. And I think you need to understand the psychology of men. We get easily defeated when we can't provide. Yeah. Naturally. Yeah. So, if you are now flaunting it, that you are the one providing, you make it doubly terrible. You remember the breaking news I gave yesterday when I did the training, that 33%, there's 33% chance of divorce for jobless men in marriage. And I will stress it, it's not because the woman wants money. It's because real responsible men are not used to not being able to have. That's it. He starts throwing tantrums, he gets unhappy, he gets edgy, little things get him angry. So he's already in that space where he's feeling defeated. So you now bringing up things that they used to be there. Every day now you are tired, you cannot cook. Every day now something. It's very easy for him to say, okay, who am I going to blame you? Sure. Is it your fault? No problem now. And resentment begin to grow. By the time he bounces back, you might not be his favorite.
Sure.
That's the truth. Yeah. So, and that's why I keep saying, pray that those things are not common in your home. Because your marriage is safer if the man is providing. I'm telling you.
Sure.
Have you noticed that men who get angry that their wife couldn't cook are jobless men? They are the one who get angry. So the man who has gone to work is tired, is busy. If you say you are tired, he ordinarily understands. And say, okay, don't worry. Can we call, let's order food. Let's get all. They will even call me. Dave will call me. Where are you? On your way back. There is nothing in this house, so they will call. Yeah. And then you have to now go on your way. And that will not be a problem. But if he is in that space, honestly, your normal greeting may sound very off in his ear. So it's a space you are trusting God not to belong, and it's a space when a wise woman will even. I told you my mother will give me school fees, and she will tell me to go and thank my father.
Sure.
Go and say thank you to your father for your school fees.
Yeah.
And I know she's the one that gave it. So that is where, and that's why I wanted to take you up on that, demanding respect. Respect for what? That because you now bring money, I should now be respecting you. How? When did we start geography that we're drawing map? No, we won't. We have to be. Mr. Abaje?
My question is about women taking care of themselves. Okay, so I wanted to ask, you've been married for, you said 30 years now. So over the years, you know, mother, for me, I just became a mother, so it's a lot of pressure. So over the past 30 years, I want to hear like practical tips, not something theoretical, but very, very as practical as you can be. Okay. Like how you cope with pressure, stress, there's work, there's the family, there's being a wife, there's being all of this. How do you still, you do all of this, play all this role, and still maintain your sanity and still not lose it? Like, what are those practical things that you have been able to put in place that have helped you over the years? Like I said, very, very practical and real, please.
Very, very practical. Congratulations on being a new mom. Very practical. I don't think it's one size fits all for everybody. But for me, I do the things I like. I love music very, very much. I love dancing. So I can just put on music in my room, loudspeakers, very loud, and I dance. I have a good time. I don't like going out. So saying I'll go out to hang out with friends, it doesn't really do it for me because I really don't like going out. I like the comfort of my house. And so I find things within my environment that will keep me, calm, relaxed, like you said. I love nature. I was telling somebody, I said I have plants on my balcony. Sometimes I'm having a really bad time, like all I need to do is step out to that balcony. I started investing in plants because I like the psychological effect of what they do to me. In fact, I found out that gardening is a very expensive hobby, so I had to back off a bit, else, like I said, I love that. So it gives me that calm. Music, yeah. Sometimes I go out with friends, yes. You could go to the spa. Just leave the house. It depends on what works for you. For some people, you want to hang out with a friend, you want to go to the spa, you want to go to the movies. Anything, whatever works for you. You want to take a trip. It doesn't have to be outside of Abuja. You want to go to a restaurant by yourself, just sit down, have a meal, rather than you, or order it, they bring it to your house, rather than you cook and go through the stress of cooking, you're still dealing with housework and all of that. I tell people, all that stress is not flex, wanting to do everything yourself. If you can outsource something, outsource it. Take the pressure off you. Like with the baby, you don't have to say, I must wash the clothes myself, because as mothers, we do that to ourselves sometimes. You want to wash the clothes, you want to do everything, you don't have to. If you can't get a washing machine, get somebody to help you wash it. It doesn't diminish your being a mother. The breastfeeding you're doing is enough work already. So concentrate on that one. Lie down on your bed. Shut your door. Shut everybody else out. Sometimes your husband inclusive. You don't want his wahala. Just shut him out. Take a nap. If you want to order food, order ice cream, whatever. So like I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's different things for different people. What makes me happy might not be what makes you happy. So you need to find that thing for yourself.
And I think they also need to believe us when we say we are fine. Because I know the pressure is much for young wife, young mother. They want to prove a whole lot of things. They want to cook in the morning, pack food for their husband to go to work. They shall want to feel everywhere that now we're married. And sometimes the man you are doing all that for, those things don't really mean so much to us. So when we say we are okay, believe that we are okay. Sure. And you don't have to kill yourself over those. I think sometimes it's the pressure of especially those who are performance, what do they call it?
Driven.
Yes, just want to do everything. At the end of the day, you are tired, you are cranky. Even those of us that you now say you are taking care of, you are now taking it out on us, and we are now wondering, what did we do? How did we cause any? Come and carry your son, come and carry your baby, come and carry. When did we have been cooking since morning? I won't say it, but I'm like, who asked you to cook since morning? If you don't cook, we still eat now. You know that kind of stuff. So when we say we are fine, honestly believe that we are fine. And when you cannot, please, you cannot.
That's very true.
And we know that it's not that you are lazy. It's just that today,
Exactly.
you are not in that. Sometimes she will send all of us to the kitchen. She will stay back in her room. You guys go and we will do it joyfully. But don't complain that we mess your kitchen. But we shall do what we can do. So I think you have to be deliberate in reducing the pressure. And that's why I wanted to, please, mothers, women, learn to take care of yourself. There's so much that is against you people. That's why women age faster than their men. If you are not careful. And you know, man, know they old. At 70, they are still good. So please take care of yourself. Heaven will not fall.
It won't.
Okay, Mrs. White. Wow.
Okay. It's more of a comment and a question. Let me put it like that. I have 4 girls. And I want them to succeed. You know, they went to school, they should be able to do well, make money for themselves. That's the essence of an education. Because we are talking about women, you know, girl, child, and all that. Now, they are okay. They are making money for themselves. Of course, I will not want my girls to go marry and be winning bread. Now, it comes to the other extreme, where parents, you feel, okay, I have sent my child through school, and the child is doing so well. And they now dictate who the child will marry. Okay, let me give a practical example of what I mean. I know of a lady that she's a medical consultant. She's over 40 and she's not married because her parents feel that any man that is coming is because of what she has. What the role of parents in that now is what I want you to talk about. How do we as parents not hinder our children from what God has, prepared for them? And it's so bad that any man that comes into this lady's life, the parents are looking at, no, it's like you are coming to.
You are gold digger.
Yes, you want to come and chop my daughter's money. So what is the role of parents? So we need to, go to that part of it as well, so that parents are not the ones hindering their children, maybe from getting married, especially the girl child, because it's a thing. It's something that is happening.
I'll go for that.
Let me try. For me, really, and I say this, Faith is here. She knows me to a large extent. My children, the oldest are 29, 28. I've already learned to let them go. Let them go in the sense that I want to trust them enough that they can make good decisions for themselves because of the way I raised them. And so I will guide. When they come to me with those decisions, I will guide, but I will not impose on them. So as parents, we have to learn that our children must grow up. They will become, because a lot of times parents, we project our own failures on our children. The things we couldn't do, or the things we feel we should have done better. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, you can't deprive them that opportunity to make their own decisions and live their own lives. So I've learned to allow children make their decisions. I can guide when I feel like this thing you're deciding on, well, it won't lead, the right way. majorly I will pray for you. But you can't. For me, it's a no-no. You can't impose on your child. You can't, especially at that age. It's like my father or my mom trying to impose on me now. It depends on what it is. If it's a decision like at 40 for anybody, whether a male or a female, we look at it like, oh, you should be married, you should be settled. I mean, when it comes to the things of relationships and love these days, I'm like, people find love at any age, fine. But we all agree that the earlier it happens for you, a lot of times the better. So at 40, I'm doing that to my child. I'm not really helping that child. I'm hurting that child. I'm happy, but the child is not happy. So this is me trying to live my life a second time again through the child. Yeah, no, I don't think that's right. If it's something that will not affect their lives, in fact, with my children, even as young as they are, I tell them, if you're taking a decision that won't affect your life, I'll let you. But if it's something I know will affect your life, that's when I will stand in your way and do whatever I can do not to let you go down that path. And I'll give you practical examples. When my son came to me that he wanted to do dreads, I directed him to Nature Strands. I said, go and do it. You want to do Abi? It's okay, go and do it. A lot of parents can't fathom that. But I knew that at that time, that was what he wanted. Is it for us in our eyes of, oh, with dreads, you're labeled irresponsible, whatever? Yeah, all of that is there. But I know he's not. And I knew it was a fad that was going to fade with time. Even his dad was like, I said, leave him. The day he wanted to cut the dreads, he didn't ask my permission. He didn't tell me again. When he graduated school and by himself. So it depends on what foundation you've laid for these children already. So as a parent, if you're still doing that, it means you did something. You didn't do your work when you were supposed to. And that is why you're so scared. And you're still holding on to those type of things. So for the dreads, like I said, how does carrying dreads affect his life? I want a good person. I want a man of integrity. That's what I'm looking for. If he was going to do something that I know will wreck his life, maybe he says to me, what example can I use now? And I know that end can never be good. At that time, I can stand as a mother and say, no, I won't let you do that. But not for something that is positive or that won't affect his life negatively. I won't stand in your way. I feel like you're wise enough to have put enough in you for me to let you be your own person. And if you make your choices and they are wrong and you fail, because we've all made mistakes. We learned from our mistakes. We moved on. You can't protect them from the mistakes of life. Sometimes they will fail. The most important thing is to be able to stand again.
Thank you very much. I don't think I can add to that. All right, I think this is a good place to... Somebody wants to say something? Okay, Mr. Alabi wants to say something. I think we'll get, please, can you get a gift? Yes.
Thank you. I think for the young mothers, there's need for you to get to find your peace in the fact that you're married. Be at peace with that. Being married is not a problem. You're married, you accepted and you agreed to be married. If you're fine with that, you find your peace. Then every other thing you're doing, you will not be under pressure. You will do it from the position of rest. Yeah. If you are not at peace with yourself being married, that's when the pressure is much. True. You still want to impress. But you find your peace, relish in the fact that you are married. Do the ones you can do and leave the ones you can't do. And let your partner understand, knows, as you get along in the journey of life. Thank you.
Once again, I want to really, really appreciate my sister and my friend here, Mrs. Kaiser, for coming. I'm going to be asking my wife to